This video tutorial provides tips for people learning to use Affinity Photo. The focus here is on custom painting cars for iRacing. Tip 1. View size. It is often necessary to zoom in on the image when making intricate changes to small items. The image you are looking at can be quickly zoomed to entirely fit within the user interface using Ctrl and 0. You can also zoom to 100%, 200%, 300%, 400%, etc. by using Ctrl and 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 etc. Ctrl and 8 zooms to actual size while Ctrl and 9 zooms to pixel size. Ctrl and the mouse will dynamically zoom the image in or out depending on the direction of the mouse wheel. Tip 2. Moving around when zoomed in. In order to move around within a zoomed-in image, use the mouse wheel to scroll the image vertically. Use Shift and the mouse wheel to scroll the image horizontally. You can also use the navigator, drag the rectangle to the area you want to look at and work on. If the navigator is not visible, go to View, Studio and select the navigator option. Tip 3. Studio presets. Studio presets make it possible to have different user interface configurations which are specific to the task at hand. I have a default studio preset with the most commonly used features available. I can reset the user interface to this default preset by pressing Ctrl and Shift and 1. When I want to use macros, I use an alternate studio preset by pressing Ctrl and Shift and 2. To define a studio preset, configure the user interface elements per your preference. Then go to Window, Studio and click on Add Preset, give the preset a name and click OK. I like to put the preset number at the start of the name. The Window, Studio, Manage Studio Presets menu shows the defined presets. Tip 4. Version snapshots. Version snapshots make it possible to save your work at a point in time and revert back to that snapshot at a later date. To save a snapshot, click on Document, Add Snapshot, enter a meaningful name like v2.0, then click OK. Press Ctrl and S to save the project. To view available snapshots or restore to a snapshot, click on Document, Restore Snapshot. Click on the snapshot you want to restore back to. Tip 5. Fill layer. The fill layer is awesome for use as the background base layer. It's so quick and easy to create, easy to change color, and most likely has a much smaller size than a pixel layer. Click on the Layer menu, click on New Fill Layer. With the fill layer selected in the Layers panel, you can change color via the color selector or use the color swatches. Tip 6. Document colors. Often we have a small number of colors which are used on many parts within our document. It's important to ensure the same RGB color is used on all the parts. Document palettes enable you to easily manage and use colors consistently. Click on the Swatch tab. If the Swatch tab is not visible, click on Window, then click Select Swatches. Then click on the tiny menu bar. Select the Add Document Palette option. With the unnamed palette selected, click on the tiny menu bar again, select the Rename Palette option. Give the palette a meaningful name, for example B189 for the Benetton B189 livery. After defining a color on the Color tab, switch to the Swatch tab, select the document palette, click Add Current Fill to the palette. Another advantage of document palettes is you can export and import them to other documents. For example, I have painted the Benetton B189 on several iRacing cars. Exporting the B189 palette and importing it into other documents gives color consistency and speeds up the painting process. The export and import functions are located within the tiny menu on the Swatch tab. Tip 7. Complementary Colours. Affinity Photo can generate complementary colors for any selected color. It's based on color theory. This is useful when looking for highlight colors that go well with the base paint. Right-click on a color box within the Color Swatches panel, go to Add Chord to Swatch. Select one of the complementary color options. The complementary colors are added to your swatch. If you want to remove the added complementary colors, you can invoke, undo, using Ctrl-Z once for each added color. Tip 8. Color Overlay Usage Tips. The color overlay feature makes it possible to override the color of a layer or group, non-destructively. Here are a few situations where this feature is useful. When we have a white car, we can't see the iRacing wireframe, because it's also white. Applying a color overlay to the wireframe makes it possible to see the wireframe again. Here we have a tri-color paint scheme on the F3 car. Here are the different outputs we can obtain by using a color overlay on the tri-color layers. There are 3 groups, each contains parts that are the same color. I have color schemes in separate document palettes. Using document palettes and color overlay, I can easily change the color scheme. The car is currently configured as the Renault R28 ING color theme. We will change it to the Renault R24 color theme. Click the FX icon on the primary color layer group. Click on the color overlay option. Click the selected color. Ensure swatch is selected. Select the desired swatch. Select the primary color. Repeat that process for the secondary color layer group. Repeat that process for the highlight color layer group. There you have it, a completely different appearance with minimal effort. Tip 9. Decals within the Spec map. Here is the desired result for this Panasonic battery theme. This is what happens to the decals when you have a metallic spec map. There are 2 common techniques used to exclude the metallic effect from the decals. Make a copy of the entire decal layer. Drag it up to the top of the spec map. Note, we don't actually want the decal contents within the spec map, we only need the decal shapes and locations. Apply a color overlay to the spec map decal layer, specify the red metallic and green roughness values. We are using red 0 because we don't want the decals to be metallic. We are using green 16 to provide a very small amount of natural roughness for a realistic surface effect. And there is the spec map result we require. Here is another way to deal with the decals. Get a selection of all the decals by pressing Ctrl and click on the decal group. Now, in the spec map, create a pixel layer at the top. Flood fill it with the desired red and green values. And there is the spec map result we require. Tip 10. Content selection. The easiest way to select content is via Ctrl and left mouse click on a layer or group that contains the content you want selected. We use this method within Tip 9. Let's select the decals on this Toyota 86 paint. Select by channel is often useful, it's a good way to select the shapes on the iRacing car patterns. Click on the Channel tab. If channels are not available, click on Window, then select Channels. Right mouse button over the green channel. Click on the Load to Pixel selection option. You can add to the selection using the Selection Brush tool. Alternatively, you can remove content from the selection by holding down Alt and the left mouse button. Let's remove the decals from our selection. We can often use the mask to help create selections. Click Select the mask layer. Click Select the Selection Brush tool. Now select the rear wing. Note, whenever you have a selection, you can grow or shrink it via the Select, Grow Shrink menu option. Grow the selection by a number of pixels, alternatively shrink the selection using a negative pixel number. Tip 11. Recolor. The recolor adjustment creates a monochrome adjustment. The key feature here is it maintains the brightness and darkness shades of the original image. A good demonstration is the helmet visor. Let's make the visor more colorful with a recolor adjustment. As you can see, the effect is very nice. Tip 12. Add noise. When selecting a shape color, switch the opacity slider to noise, then drag the slider. You can add noise to pixel layers via the Filter, Noise menu. Choose Add Noise or Perlin Noise. You can experiment with these tools and effects. Tip 13. Rotating Decals. We can copy and flip shapes for the other side of the car. We can't do that for decals because the text would be backwards and unreadable. Select the decal layer item and copy it using Ctrl-J. With the mouse over the decal image, use the right mouse button, transform, then rotate left. Do that twice to rotate the decal 180 degrees for the other side of the car. The reason to use the transform menu is because it always rotates the decal around the center. The other method, using the layer rotation setting, is dependent on having the transform origin set correctly. It can rotate around the center or any corner. Tip 14. Decal angle for other side. When a decal is placed at an angle, there is an easy way to get the same angle on the other side of the car. Copy the decal with Ctrl-J. Rotate the decal twice. Click in the decal angle setting. If the setting is negative, make it positive. If the setting is positive, make it negative. This gives the correct angle for the other side of the car. Now move the decal to the other side of the car. Tip 15. Position/size changes. When making position or size changes via the keyboard, you can use math. For example, click into the width or height size box. There are 3 options for the new value. 1. Type a new absolute value. 2. Type +20 to increase the existing value by 20 units. 3. Type +20% to increase the existing value by 20%. Tip 16. Erasing a white background. For erasing a white background, use Filter, Color, Erase White Paper.